Good evening and welcome to LJ News. From the moment news broke that a submersible was trying to get to the wreck of the Titanic was missing, rescuers had to confront several terrifying scenarios. Could the 5 people on board be trapped at the bottom of the ocean with little option but to wait as their limited oxygen supply dwindled? Or had there been some kind of catastrophic accident, leaving no choice that they could be saved? After days of desperate searching, the US Coast Guard in Boston called a press conference to confirm a sad reality. Multiple pieces of debris found on the ocean floor suggested the sub had imploded and everyone on board had died. As investigators try to understand what went wrong, many are questioning why the vessel, known as the Titan, was there in the first place. The company behind the experimental sub had reportedly been warned about safety concerns, but still took passengers to the depths of the North Atlantic. More than a century ago, the sinking of the Titanic served as a wake-up call for the maritime sector. The question now is whether lessons will be learned in the wake of another tragedy. The Titan lost contact with its mothership, the Polar Prince, 1 hour and 45 minutes into its dive on Sunday, June 18th. But for reasons not yet explained, it would be 8 hours before the United States Coast Guard was alerted to disappearance. An international search operation was quickly stood up, with US and Canadian aircraft deployed to scour the sea from the air and to drop sonar buoys into the waters below. Rescuers were faced with extraordinary challenges from the outset. The Titanic wreck is located in a remote part of the ocean, hundreds of kilometers away from the coasts of both US and Canada, and is nearly 4 kilometers below the surface. The wreck of the Titanic lies at a depth of about 3,800 meters. First of all, it's freezing cold. 2, it's pitch black, explained retired Navy submarine Captain David Marquet. The pressure is 380 times what we feel here. It's an Empire State Building of lead sitting on top of you. Few vessels are able to withstand those sorts of conditions. Remotely operated vehicles, otherwise known as ROVs, equipped with cameras, which could be deployed deep into the ocean, were prioritized as a way of providing visibility to crews on the surface. Just days into the search, many dared to hope there could be signs of life after underwater noises were detected in the search area. 2 US media outlets cited internal government documents describing the sounds as banging. It led to frenzied speculation that there could be survivors inside the vessel trying to signal for help. With estimates suggesting that the sub had 96 hours worth of breathable oxygen when it started its journey, a grim countdown served as a backdrop to discussions about any possible rescue. The Coast Guard has since said the noises were not related. The same phenomenon occurred in 2017 during the search for a missing Argentine submarine, the San Juan, which is now thought to have imploded. Again, rescuers thought they might have detected distress signals from the submarine's crew, but later concluded the sounds could have come from the ocean or marine life. While authorities cannot say exactly when the Titan is believed to have been lost, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that a top-secret military system detected what could have been the implosion shortly after the sub's disappearance. The only saving grace about that is that it would have been immediate, rescue expert David Mearns told Sky News. Literally in milliseconds, and the men would have had no idea what was happening. On dry land, the saga turned into a social media debate about the folly of the super-rich. But for the loved ones of the life on board the submersible, each minute of the last week has ticked away with unimaginable horror. Until their fate was confirmed, families lived in fear that somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, 5 men were bolted into a vessel that they could not escape from without outside help. Stockton Wash, 61, was the CEO of the Ocean Gate and charged his 4 passengers US $250,000 US for passengers $250,000 US for an adventure to the bottom of the sea. On board, he was joined by Sahaz Dawood, a businessman from one of Pakistan's richest families, and his 19-year-old son Solomon. Solomon's aunt Asmir Dawood told NBC News that her nephew wasn't very up for the expedition and felt terrified about the trip, but was eager to please his dad. Also on board was Paul-Henri Nargiolet, a former French Navy diver who earned the nickname Mr. Titanic for his repeated visits to the shipwreck. The fifth person on board was 58-year-old British adventurer Hamish Harding, who ran a Dubai-based private jet dealership. He trekked to the South Pole multiple times and holds the 3 Guinness World Records, including the longest time spent at the deepest part of the ocean. Of this journey to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in 2021, Harding said he was realistic about the risk he was taking with his life. The only problem is that there is no other sub that is capable of going down there to rescue you, he said at the time. If something goes wrong, you are not coming back. One of Harding's close friends, Janik Mikkelsen, said she was upset the mission was being branded as a UK billionaire going for a sightseeing trip to the Titanic. She said expeditions were also for scientific research. These types of expeditions are very expensive, and we need people like Hamish who can pay and sponsor such an expedition, but also to take the risk of joining such an expedition with his expertise, she said. More than a century after the Titanic plunged into the bottom of the sea, the luxury passenger liner still captures public imagination. Named after the Titans of Greek mythology, the British ship struck an iceberg and sank on April 15, 1912, killing 1,500 passengers. The maritime tragedy is an enduring cultural touchstone that has inspired countless books, films, podcasts, and documentaries. But only a rare few have the money, the risk appetite, and the special access to participate in a deep-sea voyage to the wreckage site. OceanGate's tours of the ruins, which began after the successful expeditions in 2021 and 2022, are an extreme form of tourism not for the faint of the heart. Exclusivity appeared to be part of the company's selling point to clients, who were encouraged to take part in an 8-day, once-in-a-lifetime experience. Although a specific number is difficult to know, the company says it is believed that fewer than 200 people have seen the wreck in person, far fewer than have flown in space or climbed Mount Everest. What I've seen with the ultra-rich, money is no object when it comes to experiences. They want something they'll never forget, Nick D'Annunzio, the owner of Tara, Inc., a public relations firm specializing in special events, told CNN. But shipwreck tourism is not without critics. In 2003, Ed Camuta, an enthusiast and president of the Titanic Historical Society, told the Associated Press that human activity needed to be limited at the wreck. He said the site should be a simple maritime memorial and left alone. Scientists have also previously warned that human visitors were loving the Titanic to death. Those who had taken part in expeditions in 2003 told the New York Times that surrounding recovery site was littered with beer and soda bottles, as well as cargo nets and chains. In happier times, Stockton Rush would proudly invited observers onto the Titan for a look or even a dive on his innovative vessel. CBS reporter David Pogue documented his trip on board the sub last year. An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. He wrote from a waiver he signed ahead of the journey. Mr. Rush showed off features that appeared to take the journalist by surprise, including components described as off-the-shelf, lights from Camper World, and a game controller used to control the Titan. The story also said an earlier attempt to reach the Titanic was abandoned after the sub got lost for two and a half hours. In the days since the sub's disappearance, a number of reports emerged about safety concerns previously raised about OceanGate. It's been revealed a former employee had alleged he was fired after raising questions about testing. He and OceanGate sued each other, and the case was settled on undisclosed terms. It has also been reported that Marine Technology Society, a group of ocean engineers, technologists, policymakers, and educators, wrote a letter in 2018 voicing fears about OceanGate's experimental approach. Additionally, questions have been asked about why the Titan wasn't classed or certified.